Okay, thank you. Let me upload my slides, yeah?
Yes.
I hope you can see the slides, can you?
Okay, we can see the slide.
Can see, I put into the full screen first. Can you see the slides right now? Okay,
Yes.
right? Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you for the organizers of the 2022 Briwajaya International Conference in Accounting and Business for inviting me to be one of the keynote speakers. From moving on from the supply chain management topic, we are now moving into a different topic, emphasizing on the roles of HRM practices, human resource management, in developing positive psychology in organizations. Okay, so this is a topic that is particularly interesting and relevant for, I think most of the audiences here are candidates, Ph.D. candidates or management candidates and all that, and also academics. So it will be very interesting for people who pursue the management and OB topics, all right? But it's also general for others as well. So this is the area that I'll be presenting. I'm going to present a positive psychology framework for organizations, which I've developed myself based on the literature of positive psychology, as well as we will look at what is positive psychology, what is positive OB, and the roles of HRM in developing positive psychology, and some examples of HRM roles, as well as the underpinning theories. Okay, so I hope I can do it within half an hour. Okay. All right, so if you look at this, this diagram, typical shown here, on the top left-hand corner, you can see the levels of positive psychology. What I'm trying to say, the levels is like when you want to develop, or when organizations want to develop positive psychology among their employees, so that they are positive all the time, have a positive attitude and emotion, it sits in 3 levels. One is their subjective experience. Okay, the other one is the individual level, and the other one is the group level, as well as some of these HRM intervention could be one-off or structural. Later I'll explain more on that. Okay, levels. And next, we have what you call as positive organizational behavior, where organization actually optimize the HR strengths of their employees. So optimizing the strength, managing the employees by their strengths rather than looking at their limitations or weaknesses. And the other one is to develop their psychological capacities. Okay, this is very, very important. Later I'll tell you. I'll talk about 3 theories that can be used to understand the concept of positive psychology, as well as giving you some examples of HRM roles that can help organizations to develop positive psychology among their employees. Okay, first off, before we go even further, you may want to know what is positive psychology. All right, positive psychology basically means employees having a sense of positive experience in their work. Because once employees feel that they are positive, they feel good, the organization will do well. That is an assumption of positive psychology. As well as they develop positive individual traits. And because evidence in the literature suggests that, you know, positive psychology interventions, which means if HRM can help to foster positive psychology, it will enhance the employees' well-being. Because as we all know, post-pandemic, right, or even endemic now, well-being has become a very important employee needs. So organizations need to facilitate that process. And as a result, the performance of the individual and the organization will also become better. So remember just now in my positive psychology model, okay, there are 4 levels. Okay, the first one is the called subjective level. What we mean by subjective level is, as I said, organizations need to foster what we call as valued positive subjective experiences. For example, in the past, we might, when we evaluate our positive experiences, we might think of the past. So in the past, if we feel that we are well taken care of, our well-being taken care of, we are satisfied, then we use that basis to look for the future with optimism and hope. And as a result of which, this will actually influence our flow of happiness in the present moment. So there are 3 temporal kind of like longitudinal time frame, what we are saying here, the experience. Okay, and how does HRM can facilitate this kind of positive subjective experience? It's like what I said, try to create a situation where the employees will feel a sense of high gratitude towards the organization. Okay, for example, the employer is a caring employer, for example, you know, so they will have a positive emotions enacted or elicited from their past experience. Because according to the B&B theory, as I say, build and broaden theory, once the employee build up the positive emotion, they can actually develop a lot of personal resources. I'll talk more about this. Yeah. So organization nowadays, when you think about resources, you're thinking about financial resources, training, and all that. But what we are emphasizing here is the employees also have their personal resources that can be developed, which is in a nutshell, you might say that this is a kind of available resources which the organization need to tap on. Okay, and also organization can also help to develop psychological capital in their employees. For example, a sense of self-efficacy, a sense of confidence that they can do the job, and optimistic about the future. Hope, they know how to do the job, and also resilience. Even though they fail, but they're able to bounce back faster. So now you get a little bit of sense about this. And as per the individual level, this focuses more on the positive individual traits, such as examples, confidence, courage, and so on, talent, and wisdom. So what we are saying here is HR or HRM need to facilitate or intervene to develop these trait-like characteristics. For example, what HRM strategies and practices need to focus on individual strengths, as I mentioned. You know, each and every individual, we have our own strengths. So organizations need to identify those strengths and link it to organizational mission and values and objectives. Yeah. So this is a better approach according to positive psychology literature, as compared to identify the employee's weaknesses and try to mitigate those weaknesses. Why not identify their strength and capitalize on that? Okay, so that is the idea. Next is at the group level. At the group level, or you can call it organizational level, this is where we need to identify this is about the civic virtues of the organization. Like, you're asking yourself, what is the good things or the strengths of the organization that we have? So focus on the strengths, still focus on the strength. Okay. Example is we use the approach called appreciative inquiry approach. This approach emphasizes on getting better, as opposed to conventionally we are thinking about action research or problem solving approach. That means we wait for problems to occur, then we find practices to remedy or make good. That is too late. Appreciative inquiry is a proactive approach, meaning to say we look at the core strengths, as I said, to facilitate positive change of how the organization can be better, building on their strengths now. So that is the organizational level. Okay, that's what the organization need to develop. So as you can see now, positive psychology intervention, you can actually think in terms of one-off or structural intervention. Of course, structural intervention is better compared to one-off. One-off is like do it once you achieve the target, you won't do it. Structural means you do it continuously. Structure is always better than one-off. Okay? Then we move from positive psychology to positive organizational behavior. What is this? Okay, as we know, the study of organizational behavior is actually a study of individuals, groups, and organizations, right? And their behavior towards better performance, organizational performance. So when you talk about positive OB, we are actually referring to the study and application of positively oriented HR strengths. So again, the keyword is still HR strengths and psychological capabilities. Like example, just now the PsyCap, for example. Yeah. So it has a strong focus on individual psychological capital, the four, or we can be normally we refer to as hero. Hero, H for hope, E for efficacy, R for resilience, O for optimism. So this is a very popular topic in the organizational behavior topic. I think some of you will be aware if you are in this area. Okay, other popular HRM roles to facilitate positive psychology, there's a positive thinking, emotions, and behavior is what we call as the job crafting. So this is also a very popular, I'm just trying to create some popular themes so that people can understand this in 30 minutes. Okay. One popular concept that we normally talk about is job crafting. Job crafting is a concept whereby we allow employees to actually design their own job. Okay, rather than the job is designed and ask the employees to execute it. No, job crafting is letting the employee, giving the employees autonomy to design their own job based on their strengths. That is job crafting. So imagine a situation whereby you are managing white-collar workers, they know what to do, they know how to do. So how to motivate them further is by giving them autonomy to design their own jobs based on their capability and experience and skills. So in that sense, we are able to kind of like, according to the job demand resources theory, they are able to optimize or balance the job demands and job resources, because nowadays, as you know, the working world, the job demands is very high, isn't it? So we need enough resources to help the employees to kind of like manage these job demands. One of it is giving them job opportunity to craft their own jobs, especially for knowledge workers, I'm saying, okay? And also another popular HRM roles now, very popular, is what we call mindfulness-based intervention. What we are saying here is raise the awareness of employees that they need to pay attention to what happened at the current moment. Stop worrying about what happened in the past, because that's not something that we can do. And also do not worry too much what will happen in the future. Okay, because sometimes we can't plan. The planning schedule becomes shorter. So what we can do now is accept and experience the current moment and make full use of it. So because we believe, this group of scholars believe that if we focus and do our best at the current moment, the future will be well taken care of. Okay, so you have what we call as mindfulness-based therapies, for example, to help the employees to manage their emotion, their well-being, and so on. Yeah, quite a popular, that one, HRM practices. So I'll run through quickly on some of the theories that scholars can and will use in this school of thought, this area. Okay, because I understand and I know that a lot of audiences now are PhD students. So you need what we call as an underlying theory when you develop your problem statement. So I'm going to talk about 3 theories that can help you to develop models. Okay, So the first one, very popular, is what we call job demands resources theory. So this theory basically talks about they are classifying or categorizing the working condition into job demands and job resources, as we know. Every job environment has what we call job demands. So job demands consumes energy, consumes effort, so it leads to psychological and physiological costs. Whereas job resources, foster the personal growth, learning, and development, and have motivational qualities. So what we are saying here is, there are two processes involved in our work environment. One is the health impairment process. This happens when you have a lot of job demands, the employees feel burnout, as all of us know. So how to manage this health impairment or burnout spiral is through the motivational process, whereby we provide employees with the job resources that they need. Okay, so these job resources actually includes organizational resources the employer give, for example, like support, training, good supervisory practices, ability to job craft their work, and also personal resources that the employee generate themselves, where the organization facilitate. Okay, and to kind of like optimize. So when you have a lot of job demands, when the job demand is high, you need more job resources. And also the job resources could actually buffer or mitigate or weaken the impact of job demands on burnout. Okay, so HRM, as I said here, should assist employees to manage the job demand resources for optimum performance. Okay, so this is the JDR theory. The other theory, which is very, very popular in the OB literature and also general management, is what we call as COR, or conservation of resources theory. This is also a very popular one. Every PhD thesis you'll find either JDR, COR, very common. Okay, so I just highlight the principles. So the very basic tenet of COR theory says individuals always strive to obtain, retain, foster, and protect resources that they centrally value. So literally speaking, for example, if knowledge workers would want autonomy in doing their work and recognition, for example. So if these resources they want to protect and keep and foster and strengthen. So if these resources are taken away from them or consumed very much until the lack of this kind of resources because of the job demand is too high, for example, then they feel disappointed and burn out. That leads to principle one, you see. Primacy of loss principle. We need to say resource loss is disproportionately more salient or obvious or important or significant than resource gain. What it means here is, in the working world, resource loss is more significant and it happens more often compared to resource gain because of the highly demanding work environment we have in contemporary organization. It happens more. Because of that, we need the second principle, that's resource investment principle. So if we lose the resources that we value, for example, let's say like connection, support, career path, and so on, then people need to invest resources in order to protect against resource loss and regain the resources. Which means to say, people, they want to invest the resources. Or invest could be like develop the resources, find the resources, or seek resources and all that. So where does the resources come from? It can be from the organization, facilitated by organization, or from the employee themselves. Okay, where are the resources? All right. Which this leads to principle 3, we say gain paradox principle. It says resource gain increases in salient in the context of resources. That means the more resources you lose, the more resources you need, as I said. Okay, so this is a very important thing because nowadays, because the high demanding job, you lose more resources compared to the resources that can be provided or developed by the employee. Okay, Principle 4 is desperation principle. When people are not able to meet their need for resources, they become defensive, you know. And then according to this theory, it says there's a concept called resource caravans or groups of resources. So when we say resources, it's always in a group or a team or combination or things like that. You don't talk about one resources, you talk about multiple resources. That's what I mentioned just now, organizational or personal resources. Okay. Next is the corollary or the propositions. It says people or individuals with more resources, they are less vulnerable to resource loss, which means to say they are more resilient. So if managers ask, how do we make employees less vulnerable to job demands? They mean they are more resilient. So they need to be provided with more resources, or they themselves develop what we call as the personal resources like SciCap or job crafting and all that. Okay, and those who lack resources are more vulnerable. So if we want to be less vulnerable, more resilient, so we need to have more resources. So if the organization that we work with do not provide us with adequate resources, what to do? We generate or we develop our own personal resources. That is the solution. Okay, and this leads to corollary 2, where the resource loss cycle. What we are saying is the resource loss is more powerful than the resource gain. What we are saying here is the rate of resource loss is faster than the resource gain. That's what we mean. I think all of us agree with that. So when you have more and more resource loss, it creates what we call stress spiral or loss spiral. Okay, and so we need to catch up. That's the thing. Yeah, and this leads to corollary 3, where the resource gain spirals. So because the resource gain spiral is slower and lower at magnitude, then the resource gain spiral tend to be weak and develop slowly. Okay. Yeah. So organization need to understand this point. Why? Because organization need to understand that it takes time to build the resources to cover or to protect the resources loss. Okay, and then we say, that's why I'm saying that HRM roles should assist to employees to obtain, retain, foster, and protect the resources they value. That's very important in order to keep the employees motivated. Okay, the third theory is also very, very important. We call broaden and build theory of positive emotions. So as we know, because of COVID, a lot of people are depressed, lost their jobs, you know, and then we feel depressed with all the negative emotions all sets in. So positive emotion and an organizational role in facilitating the development of positive emotion becomes even more important, I think. Yeah, purely because positive emotions will broaden the momentary thought action repertoire. These are very heavy words, but basically what it means is, if we are happy in our work while working, we will broaden our thinking. It will activate our thinking and behavior in a positive way. Meaning to say, we think positive, we feel positive, and we act positively over a period of time. That's what I mean by momentary. Okay, and some examples, like for example, you see the positive impact of positive emotion is the discovery of, if people are happy at their work, the outcome is they are more creative, you know, and when they are happy, they will build more personal resources. Like for example, just like I talked about hero. When the employee is happy, they are more positive, they are more hopeful of the future, they are more optimistic, and even if they fail, they'll rebound back faster. Okay, yeah, and so when they build out the resources, they will be more ready to face future stress, and because of that, their well-being will be better. They create what we call as upward spirals. Okay, an example of some of the personal resources that can be built as a result of positive emotions are like cognitive the way we think. If we are happy, we are more calm in terms of our mind. And also social. When we are happy, we are able to develop better friendships with our colleagues. Also positive outcome. Reduce conflict. And also psychological. For example, like I told you, more resilient, more optimistic in the facing of adversity. And we are more healthy as well. Research shows happy people are healthier. I think everybody agree to that. Okay. It builds our immunity. And these are the references, yeah. So I think it's almost 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. So I thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Liu.